Destroyer has long been the workhorse of modern navies. This video ordnance program examines the most modern of the United States Navy's destroyers, the Arleigh Burke. In contemporary fleets, three types of surface warships predominate: the frigate, the destroyer, and the cruiser. The frigate is the smallest of the three. Frigates are designed to be economical. They carry less extensive weaponry and less sophisticated electronic sensors than the larger destroyers and cruisers. To minimize their limitations, they are designed for specialized roles. Often they are intended for anti-submarine warfare. On the high end of the scale are the cruisers, such as the U.S. Navy's Ticonderoga-class Aegis cruisers. Cruisers carry a far more extensive array of weapons and sensors than the smaller frigates, so they can be employed for many missions, including anti-submarine missions and air defense missions. The Aegis-class cruisers are especially well suited to defending carrier battle groups against air attack, so are often called the shield of the fleet. Cruisers are larger than destroyers since they contain additional command and control facilities aboard to allow senior naval officers of a battle staff to coordinate the actions of other ships in a battle group. Cruisers are fewer in number than destroyers or frigates due to their higher cost. The destroyer fits in between the frigate and the cruiser. Destroyers can be smaller than cruisers since they do not perform their command functions. Being larger than frigates, they can carry more elaborate weapon systems and electronic sensors. The modern destroyer is a well-balanced design. It is capable of carrying out a wider range of missions than frigates, while at the same time carrying weapons that give it capabilities approaching those of cruisers.
Destroyers have long been called the workhorse of the fleet, and in a battle group environment in the assignments that you just described, once again the balance and flexibility of the ship really shines through, and you can see how she can rapidly become the workhorse. Wherever the fleet commander wants to use us, we can go. If he needs us in a strike role to strike hundreds of miles ashore, we can do that. If he needs us to go perform an anti-submarine mission with a Lamps Mark III helicopter, we can do that as well. If he needs us to go against an air threat, an Exocet cruise missile, for instance, or any other type of cruise missile or manned aircraft, we have a very robust capability there. We can strike surface targets. We can shoot gunfire support in support of ground troops. You name the naval mission area, and we can perform it of a surface combatant.
The name destroyer stems from the ship's traditional role, torpedo boat destroyer. Today, the small torpedo boat is no longer a significant threat to surface warships. Other types of warships have replaced it. The most deadly torpedo boat today is the submarine, and destroyers like the Arleigh Burke are designed to combat the undersea threat. On the surface, the anti-ship missile has replaced the torpedo as the newest danger. This requires a change in the balance of weapons carried by modern destroyers. These trends are most evident in the U.S. Navy's newest class of destroyers, the DDG-51 Arleigh Burke. The DDG-51 is named in honor of Admiral Arleigh Burke, the legendary World War II destroyer commander, who also played a prominent role in guiding the U.S. Navy after the war. During the fighting in the Pacific in World War II, Burke commanded Destroyer Squadron 23, nicknamed the Little Beavers, after a cartoon character they chose as their insignia. Burke's destroyers entered the history books after winning several key naval engagements with the Japanese fleets, including the Battle of Cape St. George in November 1943. To his dismay, Burke's impressive leadership skills led to transfer from his prized destroyers to Admiral Mark Mitch's carrier division as Chief of Staff. Burke served with distinction at many of the key naval battles of the war. Marianas, Philippine Sea, Leyte Gulf, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Seasoned in battle, Burke had an equally distinguished career after the war. During the Korean War, he returned to the sea, commanding cruisers, and later serving with the ceasefire negotiations. In 1955, President Eisenhower named him Chief of Naval Operations, leapfrogging him over 91 more senior naval officers. As the CNO, Burke would lead the U.S. Navy into the nuclear age, melding new technologies such as submarine-launched nuclear missiles into the framework of Navy strategy. But for all his many successes as a Navy leader, Burke remained at heart a destroyer commander. DDG-51 Arleigh Burke is startlingly different from the destroyers Burke commanded in World War II, but its missions remain much the same. The DDG-51 displaces over 8,000 tons, making it 4 times as heavy as a World War II destroyer. The DDG-51 Arleigh Burke represents many new approaches in naval ship design, even compared to destroyers from a decade ago. One of the most striking changes from earlier destroyer designs is its hull shape. Destroyers have traditionally been long and narrow. In contrast, the Arleigh Burke is wide in the beam.
We have a very unique relationship in naval architectural terms, which is our length-to-beam ratio. For a ship of our length, we're very, very wide in the beam. And what that translates to is enhanced stability. We may not be the fastest ship on the ocean in a flat, calm sea, but we're probably the fastest ship in the ocean in a very heavy sea. So in tough weather, I'm going to be able to press on to the fight and get there and stay there. Also, that stability lends to just a more comfortable ride in the ship. It's good for the people, it's good for the equipment, it's good for morale.
The Arleigh Burke is the first American warship in many years to use this new hull configuration. Other warships, including those of most other navies, still retain the more traditional proportions. Initial experience of the Arleigh Burke at sea have confirmed the advantages of this new design.
During the weapons firing trial that we held in January in the Gulf of Maine in the northern Atlantic, it was a fairly significant storm that had just come through, creating 18 to 22-foot waves. The escort ship that we had was a Knox-class frigate, and some of the events that they were going to help us out with or participate in with us, they could not physically go through the area that we were in due to the high sea state, high winds, and just the rolling of the ship was creating a dangerous environment for the crew. That's not to say that we wouldn't eventually come to that point too, but in 22-foot seas, this ship is taking maybe 8 to 10 degree rolls and can maintain 20 to 25 knots indefinitely, and that's a lot more than a lot of other ships can take.
Besides its unique hull shape, the Arleigh Burke also incorporates other significant changes in naval architecture. A return to steel construction. Destroyers of the Second World War were made of steel. But by the 1960s and 70s, steel was being replaced by aluminum. The switch in materials was due to the increasing weight of radars and other sensors high up in the masts, which made the ships top-heavy. Aluminum was an excellent alternative to steel, since it offered strength at a lower weight. But it had its disadvantages in some respects, particularly in the case of battle damage and fires. The designers of the Arleigh Burke wished to return to steel construction and at the same time retain the many advanced electronic systems which have become essential to all modern warships.
Most of the modern warships today have a lot of aluminum built in their superstructure, and that's to save weight. Such as the Aegis class cruiser has a lot of area topside and a lot of high weight material topside. In order to save weight and to keep the ship from being quite as top heavy as you might think, they used aluminum with it. Same thing with a lot of the frigates, a lot of the destroyers are the same business. What we've done on board Arleigh Burke was we've taken a lot of the vital spaces, taken them out of the superstructure, moved them down into the hull itself, and therefore we can afford to have steel topside. So you basically take your weight, relocate it from top down, and then you can afford to have more weight topside. Plus we've increased the beam of the ship so the ship won't be as top heavy or prone to rolls. It's a very stable platform on top of it.
The Arleigh Burke is a much more compact design than its predecessors. Its superstructure is sleeker and less cluttered than previous designs, and its architectural innovations make it more survivable in a fight. The most obvious change in warship design since the Second World War is the physical impression of the ship. World War II destroyers bristled with guns. A typical destroyer would be armed with 4 or more turret and 5-inch guns, and there would be dozens of smaller anti-aircraft guns. The Arleigh Burke seems to be nearly devoid of weapons. The only weapon immediately obvious is the 5-inch gun on the bow. Appearances are deceiving. The Arleigh Burke, in fact, contains more effective firepower than any World War II warship.
When comparing World War II destroyers and Arleigh Burke, I think you'd find electronics and technology, we use smarter weapons than we used back then. Instead of just lobbing shells at people, we can still do that because it's still a cost-effective way to conduct certain missions. But we have guided cruise missiles, as we saw in the war with Iraq. The Tomahawk cruise missile is an effective land attack vehicle, precision-guided munitions. We have the capability of just seeing more and being more cognizant of our environment and being able to be more selective with our weapons. I think Admiral Burke said it best, if I can borrow his quotation, when he said, when asked by a reporter, "Admiral, how does this ship compare with the ships you had in World War II?" he said, "If I had had this ship then, there wouldn't have been a World War II."
The reason that the Arleigh Burke seems so barren of weapons is that they are hidden deep in the hull in the vertical launcher system. The vertical launchers consist of 2 launch cells, one in the bow and one in the stern, containing 90 missiles. Guns and torpedoes were the primary armament of the World War II destroyer, but on the DDG-51, missiles are the primary armament. Admiral Burke played a key role in this direction, heading the Navy's research in the late 1940s when naval missiles were first being developed. Advanced sensors allow the modern destroyer to attack targets far beyond the reach of World War II destroyers. In the Second World War, destroyers could only engage targets they could see, typically less than 10 miles. Its most powerful weapon was its torpedoes. Today's Arleigh Burke can attack enemy ships over 50 miles away using its anti-ship missiles.
A lot of different weapon systems for truly long-range engagements. We have the Tomahawk weapon system, the TASM, Tomahawk anti-ship missile variant, that can reach out quite a distance and be able to put a warhead on a ship. For somewhat closer in action, but still over the horizon, we have the Harpoon cruise missiles, anti-ship cruise missiles. Those are pretty common throughout the Navy. They're actually a popular cruise missile throughout the world right now. For close in action, I have the option of using my gun system, my 5-inch gun system. It's a Mark 45 Mod 1 gun up on the forecastle, or I can use standard missiles in their surface-to-surface mode. And I have a lot of flexibility. I can also, of course, control aircraft, and the ship is designed to be part of a carrier battle group, so we can use carrier-based aircraft, or for that matter, land-based aircraft, and direct them to conduct engagements for us.
For targets even further away, the advanced Tomahawk cruise missile can be used. This adds an unprecedented level of firepower to the modern destroyer. A modified version of the Tomahawk carried by the Arleigh Burke can attack land targets hundreds of miles from the sea. Until the advent of the Tomahawk, the only tactical naval weapons capable of such range were carrier-based aircraft.
I think something that's very, very important is our strike missile capability. One of the first weapons that arrived in Iraq was a cruise missile launched off of an Aegis cruiser. That kind of capability to project power ashore hundreds of miles with great precision, without risking anybody's life, manning that aircraft, whether it's a man or a woman, minimizing collateral damage because you can strike with great precision at your intended target. That's a wonderful capability, and once again, I think it lends to the balance and flexibility of this class of ship.
The mix of the missiles in the vertical launchers can be changed depending on the Burke's mission. In the event of a hostile air attack, the Burke can launch the standard air defense missile. On a World War II destroyer, air defense was primarily by guns. Today, the standard missile provides protection against aircraft and cruise missiles at distances unimaginable in World War II. Radar guides the standard to its target, even if the target is moving near supersonic speeds. The standard forms the first layer of the air defense belt around the ship, reaching out dozens of miles. The final layer of defense against enemy anti-ship missiles comes from the close-in weapon system, or CWIS.
CWIS provides us an anti-ship missile defense for close-in. If all of our defense mechanisms, we try to engage at the furthest distance, if those break down and somebody happens to sneak through, the close-in weapon system will come into effect there. It's fully automated. It contains its own search and tracking radars. Basically, you can turn the system on and walk away from it, and it'll protect the ship.
On the rear deck of the Arleigh Burke is a landing pad for the Lamps Mark III helicopter. The helicopter is a significant addition to the firepower and combat capabilities of a modern destroyer. Helicopters extend the range of the destroyer, allowing the destroyer to seek out and attack enemy ships and submarines dozens of miles away before they can attack the destroyer. One of the few controversies about the DDG-51 has been its lack of a helicopter hangar to permit the helicopter to be permanently deployed aboard ship. This is due to the Burke's compact size. Its captain does not feel this presents an insurmountable problem.
We have a tremendous helicopter capability in this ship. We have all the data links necessary to transmit tactical information between the helicopter and the ship. We can process all of his sensors. We can vector him out to conduct an anti-submarine attack. He can send back targeting information for over-the-horizon surface targets. We can share all that information. We can link with his radar system on board. Not only can we do it with the Lamps Mark III aircraft, but we can do it with the Lamps Mark I aircraft. The only thing that we can't do is maintain the helicopter. But destroyers travel in groups. They rarely travel alone. And if we're associated with another ship that has a helicopter hangar, then we'll allow that other ship to do the maintenance, and we'll tactically employ the helicopter as well.
For all the sophisticated radar and sonar-directed weapons on board, there still remains a place for the destroyer's traditional weapons, the torpedo and the gun. Torpedoes have been reduced in importance to last-ditch weapons against submarines. Missiles have taken their place in battles with enemy ships. The gun, once the mainstay of destroyer weaponry, is now used mainly for shore bombardment.
We have a variety of roles that the 5-inch gun can play on board Arleigh Burke. We can utilize a 5-inch gun for anti-air warfare. We can use it in surface mode against surface ships, and also in shore fire for shore fire bombardment against shore targets in support of ground troops. The gun mount itself is not manned. The loader drum room directly below is manned, and it's controlled from that place, and as well as in CIC.
The impressive array of traditional and advanced technology weaponry gives the Burke substantially more firepower than its World War II antecedents. ship can no longer be judged by its weapons alone. Far more critical are its electronic sensors. These sensors allow it to accurately detect the target at long range and then direct the weapons to destroy it with pinpoint accuracy. During World War II, Arleigh Burke was among the pioneers of these new sensors, using some of the first naval radars to come into use. On the new DDG-51, the most prominent electronic sensor is its Aegis radar system, light years more advanced than the primitive naval radars of World War II. The Aegis radar is a phased array radar. Unlike traditional radars, which rotate to look for targets, the Aegis is electronically steered. These 4 flat panels give the Arleigh Burke 360-degree coverage every second. There are no momentary gaps in its coverage as there were with traditional radars. The speed and accuracy of Aegis allow for a high degree of automation.
Clearly, there are 2 things that you need to look at. One, the sensor package. First of all, how do you detect that there's a threat or an enemy out there? And secondly, the weapon that you can respond to. In the Aegis weapon system, we have a very highly automated, so we can take advantage of a rapidly developing scenario that we can respond very, very quickly. Reaction time is very important in War at Sea. And in a highly automated, computerized system like the Aegis weapon system, we can detect, track, and engage an incoming threat very quickly. And we respond to that with a standard missile system out of our vertical launching system. The standard missile is evolving into different blocks, certain upgrades. We call them blocks in the Navy, but we carry the latest upgrade of standard missile in the ship that is designed to maximize that sensor coverage that we get. We shoot that missile from the vertical launching system, a very, very simple, very reliable, very dependable launcher that gives me high speed in its ability to fire weapons. There are many people who say that pound for this size of ship, it's the most powerful ship in the world. And in the Aegis weapon system, we certainly have a great capability against air threats.
The other traditional role for destroyers is anti-submarine missions. As in the case of air defense, the essential ingredient in this mission is the electronic sensor for first finding an enemy submarine. Located under the bow of the ship, the sonar is the key sensor in submarine hunting.
The sensor really is what you have to rely upon first before you begin to get a weapons engagement. And when you look at the sensors in this ship, once again, it's remarkable. On the bow of the ship is the SQS-53 Charlie sonar, a very high power, multi-frequency, multi-path type of active sonar. And so we have a great active capability to send active sonar transmissions out to listen for a return and find out where that submarine is. On the after part of the ship is a very sophisticated towed array passive sonar system that we trail behind us almost a mile behind the ship. And so we can put that down at various depths of water, so if a submarine is running deep, we can put our sensor down deep to listen for him. So it's a terrific 1-2 punch. Active sonar on the bow, passive sonar on the stern, and what we do then is once we find that enemy submarine, we certainly have to classify him as an enemy submarine, get permission from an admiral to go engage that submarine, and we would do that using a LAMPS Mark III helicopter, a LAMPS Mark I helicopter, an S-3 aircraft off the aircraft carrier, or land-based aircraft such as a P-3.
As the Arleigh Burke's captain has noted, the destroyer can use not only its own weapons to attack an enemy target, but the weapons of other ships and aircraft of the battle group. This is made possible by the advanced command and control features of modern warships. In decades past, the captain fought from the bridge of the destroyer. Today, the enormous flow of data from its advanced sensors and the need to coordinate the destroyer's actions with other elements of the battle group means that the captain will fight the ship from deep in its hull, in the Combat Information Center, or CIC.
Combat Information Center is the place on board the ship where we collect all the information that the sensors, that people at the helicopter and such have been able to pick up, evaluate what that information actually means, put it into a tactical picture, and then use the picture basically to fight the ship or to defend the ship or the group that we're with. Actual combat information centers started, I guess, probably about 25 to 30 years ago in their development. Before, in World War II, you'd find always the captain up on the bridge of the ship during a fight. He'd be driving the ship and directing the firing of the guns from there. As ships became more complicated and involved, the captain has now gone down to the Combat Information Center. That's where the ship is fought from. If necessary, that's where he can drive the ship from, but mostly he'll fight the ship from there and then allow people on the bridge to drive the ship as he directs or as they see fit from the bridge. Under battle conditions, you're probably going to have about 35 to 40 people in CIC. It'll be a very quiet place in that everybody will be talking to individuals on headsets with microphones, so there won't be a lot of idle talk going back and forth. It's fairly dark in there. The screens are well illuminated. Almost everything all the information that you want to get, you could pull up from your console itself.
A destroyer in World War II was usually on its own in collecting data on enemy dispositions. Today, the Burke receives data from many sources, including satellites, surveillance aircraft, and other ships in the battle group. Critical data can be beamed around the world over digital data channels, linking surface warships operating anywhere on the vast expanses of sea.
We will link with a number of different platforms that are in the battle group. It could be an aircraft, it could be other ships in the area, or other ships even over the horizon. They'll send us the information that they have, we'll send them the information that we have, so you get one overall combined picture. We can use a helicopter on board for that exact same thing also. Send the helicopter out over the horizon, have him come up to an altitude where we can see him and he can transmit his information back to us. We'll get his entire picture. That way we get one combined overall picture of what's going on around us.
For all their technological differences, the modern destroyer plays many of the same roles in fleet actions as its World War II antecedent. As the threat to surface warships has changed, the destroyer has become larger and more sophisticated to deal with the threats.
When comparing Arleigh Burke's capabilities with destroyers, you have to remember that destroyers have traditionally been capable in all mission areas. Even Admiral Burke's Desron 23 destroyers were capable in air, and certainly capable in surface. That's where their most famous track record was, and ASW. With DDG-51 USS Arleigh Burke, what you're getting is a destroyer that's capable in all mission areas, but it's perhaps more capable than other ships in all mission areas. Certainly her ASW sensors are second to none. The Aegis weapon system is second to none in terms of anti-air defense, and her surface capabilities are the most capable we have in the fleet now that the battleships are being retired. The only thing missing is a 16-inch gun, and those aren't on any destroyer.
On the bridge of the DDG-51 is the same little beaver cartoon carried on Admiral Burke's destroyer in World War II. A tangible link between the generations of destroyers and their crews. The modern destroyer remains the workhorse of the fleet.